Hi, my name is David Barber, and this is the Music Biz series of podcasts on rockoncolorado.com. And today, we're talking about set lists. How to put together a good set list. Now, while I'm talking, hopefully you'll be seeing a bunch of real, actual set lists that I picked up off the stage at the venue where I work over my shoulder here. Obviously, I can't tell you exactly which songs to play or what order to play them in, because this is intended for bands of any genre, okay? It all depends, of course, on what kind of band you are, what kind of music you play. Tribute bands, for example, know exactly what songs to play. Cover bands, well, they got to decide what genre, what era of music to play, and they may want to tailor that specific set to a specific venue or an audience. What about bands playing original music? Here again, it depends on the genre. Does your original music have a heavy dance groove, like, 70s Motown era disco? Or is it more contemplative stuff that encourages an audience to just sit there and listen, like The Fray? Are you playing only originals, or do you want to incorporate a few select covers? Are you playing in a biker bar, or a coffee shop, or a theater, or an amphitheater? Does your music cross genres? Do your fans already know your music, or are you a relatively new band still trying to win people over? There's obviously a lot of variables here, so we'll try to guide you through them so you can put together a killer set list. Now, if you're playing in a biker bar or neighborhood pub, you'll probably go over best if you play music that people are familiar with. This is also true for weddings, corporate gigs, and many street fairs and festival situations. What does that mean? That means covers. Sorry. The more danceable they are, the more the crowd will like you. In that case, you should play 50 to 100% covers, with originals sandwiched in between compatible cover songs. If you play all covers, like a typical blues rock cover band might, you probably go over pretty good. If you're playing in a coffee shop, obviously you're going to want to play mostly acoustic. You don't want to overwhelm the audience, and there's probably not a big sound system, and if there was, it probably wouldn't work well. Hopefully you're not a punk band or a metal band playing in a coffee shop, although that happens. There are different theories on what the best kind of set will be. And of course it depends on the audience and the genre. In many cases, you're going to want to start out with an attention grabber. One of your best tunes right off the bat. If you're playing first or right after a band that wasn't so great, it's really important to get the attention of the crowd as soon as possible. You want to grab them. In all cases, you're going to want to heed the old showbiz saying, always leave them wanting more. Always leave them wanting more. It's tried and true. It's the reason they've been repeating this for hundreds of years. It works. So that means save your very best number for the end of the set. This one should be so great that all your fans scream for an encore. Hopefully you have at least one song people just love every time you play it. If you don't, you need to work out some more songs, okay? Make sure you also save a couple of good ones for the encore. You don't want them to be better, but you do want them to be good. You don't want to get them all revved up and then leave them with songs that kind of suck. That's not going to work. Okay, if your repertoire, big word there, is reasonably diverse, you should be able to grab them and get them dancing right away or during the first few songs, and then slow it down a little, and then speed it up and slow it down, and then hit them really hard at the end. Okay? Hopefully your fans will leave feeling like they had an experience, not just they went out and had a couple beers. Right? You're going to want to avoid playing all your best stuff right off the bat and then ending with a blah. People may remember that they liked you at first, but then they'll forget the rest of your set and walk away with a disappointing impression in their head. They're going to remember the way they felt at the end of your set. Always leave them wanting more. If your music is such that all the songs are the same or similar tempo, time signature, and some genres are like that, you just do your best to grab hold of them and hold on tight for as long as you can. You know, maybe you can make it last, maybe you can't. Do what you can. If you want to take your show up another notch, consider including songs that have different tempos, even if it breaks a little out of your genre. Most people appreciate a little calming down after a few fast songs, or a little pepping up after a few slow numbers. Try experimenting with your originals by simply speeding them up or slowing them down a little. See what difference it can make. Do it live, and then ask your fans what they thought. Sometimes things that may seem kind of stupid in rehearsal have unexpectedly good or bad results when you try them on the stage. But you're going to have to try them on stage to find out for sure, okay? Maybe you can get some friends in during rehearsal and weed it out that way, but it's best if you have a completely neutral audience who doesn't know what you're trying to do. Alright, now, timing. Make sure you know how long your set is supposed to be, right? You need to know how long it's going to take to play your set. You need to rehearse it. And that's got to include not just the song lengths, but the time between songs, if there is any. Sometimes you want to go bam, bam, bam right into another song. Other times, your guitar player is going to have to tune up a little or swap guitars out, you know, things like that. You may be one of those bands where you want to introduce every song because, you know, there's an important story behind this song. Maybe you do that for every song, maybe you just do it for some songs. But you want to make sure you include that in your set timing, okay? So you know how long it's going to take to play your set with all that in there. If you're playing in a situation where there are bands playing after you, and or there are other time constraints, include your encore into your set time planning. This is what the professionals do when you go to an amphitheater. They plan an encore. They know what they're going to play for an encore and how long it's going to take to play it. Okay? It's great to leave them begging for more, but if you don't have time for that encore, your set might have been too long. Cut a song out. Gives you room for an encore song. And if it's just a really crappy gig where nobody enjoyed your music, yeah, you just quit early. It happens. One rule of thumb is to plan your set to end a few minutes early. And that way, if people want an encore, you have time for an encore. If a guitar player breaks his string and has to change it really quick, it's not going to throw you off, or you're not going to have to cut a song out. You know, delays happen. You should be able to deal with it, have some extra songs ready to go in case there's extra time, or be able to cut a song out of your set at the drop of a hat if time is running short for something out of your control. If it's in your control, try not to let that happen. Encores. If your songs are all about 5 minutes long, and then you get the one more song signal, and then insist on doing a 20-minute jam when you've only got 5 minutes left in your set, you risk pissing off the sound guy, which is always a bad thing, the club manager, the stage manager, the staff, any bands that have to play after you. There's also a lot of clubs are restricted in their liquor license by how late they can stay open. And if you're still playing when they've got to be closed, they ain't going to like it much. Okay? Likewise, if you're an opening act and you run 5-10 minutes long, hey, it may be fun for you, the crowd may even love it, but the headliner, if he has to cut songs out of his set, he may not be too happy about it. Consider that. Now, here's a big question. Should you play covers or not? Every original band struggles with this question. My answer, in most cases, Yes, you should play at least a few covers, especially if you're a new band. Once people have become familiar with your original music, you can probably drop those covers from your set. But until then, you're going to need them. You pay attention to the big national successful touring acts who are playing the amphitheaters and stadiums. Most of them actually do play a few select covers. Not all of them, certainly, but a lot of them do. That said, we've also heard bands whose original music is so good they don't need to play covers. That's pretty rare, but if that's you, just play your originals. It's good. I've also heard bands whose original music sounds so much like it could be a cover that they didn't need to play covers either. They still did, but they didn't need to. One observation that I've made is that people don't dance to music they're not familiar with. If people start dancing right away when you play your originals, yeah, you may not need covers. But most bands, though, they need to play something that people have heard before, a lot, in order to get them, get their attention and then get them onto the dance floor. Of course, if yours is the kind of music that nobody's going to dance to anyway, or that's just not a priority for you, you can ignore that. I mean, it's totally fine. You may be very successful as an artist if your fans yawn all the way to iTunes and buy all your music. Nothing wrong with that. When selecting covers, you want to choose music that's popular in your genre, that is complementary or at least compatible with your originals. Okay? Start with the bands that influenced you and move into the bands that you just love when you're looking for covers. Chances are these songs are going to work with your originals to some degree. However, don't be afraid to cover stuff completely out of your genre. I know this popular alt-country band that covers Neil Diamond and Ozzy Osbourne in the same set. And it goes over great. They play it country style, but the crowd loves it and sings along, and it's very successful. Just be careful though. It's just as easy to ruin a popular song as it is to make it your own. You don't want to ruin. One surefire way to grab a crowd's attention is to play a tune that has a very different tempo. Bands that play songs that are all the same time signature, no matter what genre, commonly get tiring after 20 or 30 minutes. You need to incorporate some diversity into your sets. You want to tailor your set to the crowd. Is your crowd mostly over 40? Play some oldies. Are they mostly under 25? Play something new. Are they bikers? Hey, play Born to Be Wild. Why not? If they're soccer moms, play sappy love songs. Bottom line, play what they want to hear. If you don't know what they want to hear, ask them. They'll tell you. Every crowd has someone that'll shout out something. If you don't know that song, play whatever you got that's as close to that as you can get. If you're playing all originals, go ahead and do it anyway. They may shout out one of your originals, which is awesome, or you're going to at least find out what they want to hear. Okay? You kind of tease them, but it gets them involved in the show, and that's a good sign. Anything you can do to get the audience really paying attention to you is going to help your show. Now, when I'm putting together that set list, first you want to know what kind of material you got. Doesn't matter if it's covers, originals, or a mixture of both. You just need to know, what is it? If it's all the same tempo, it may not matter what order you play it in. Most bands, most successful bands that is, have material that is fast and slow, or at least relative from one song to the next. It speeds up and slows down. That's a good thing. Second, try to guess what the crowd will be like. It may be obvious from the venue what the crowd's going to be like, but it may not be. Be prepared to change things on the fly if you need to. If you're expecting, a bunch of 25-year-olds to show up at this bar, and you go in, you start playing, and in comes a busload from the local senior center, maybe you want to adjust your set list. Maybe you don't. you know, that's the kind of situation you just got to wing it. Do the best you can. Then you want to set the pace, okay? You may want to start out slow and then gradually speed things up over the course of your set, or you may want to start out strong and slow things down and build them back up by the end of the set. So just play your heart out. So finally, and this is one of the most important things, you want to take note of the audience reaction to each and every song. Okay? If they love you, great. You put together a good set. If they start out loving you, then they'll leave during one song. Well, you know, get rid of that song. And it can take a while to get things right. You got to play a lot of gigs. Don't get discouraged. Just keep at it, and eventually you will get your killer set list just the way you want it. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I'm David Barber from RockOnColorado.com.